right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Everton Rattray. I'm the Vice Chair for Partnerships and Resources for the Commonwealth Youth Council, and I will be the moderator for this session this morning. Today's session is Youth Work for Marginalized Communities, and we have two presenters with us today, Eric Omwanda Nehemiah, I might be doing injustice to his name, and Gavin Myers, who are both presenting on topics that I think are very relevant to youth work and marginalized communities. Eric will be presenting on the power of youth work, forging a sustainable and peaceful common future. And Gavin will be presenting on, well, the title of his presentation is Treat the Youth Right, which is a Jamaican way of saying how to treat young people with respect. And it's titled Building the Capacity of Community Heritage Sites as Youth Serving Organizations in Dispersed Rural Communities in Jamaica. At this time, we're going to ask Eric to lead us off with his presentation. We're going to save questions as best as possible. Well, we take the questions for each section, and then we'll also have a general section after for question and a discussion, so we could look at possible solutions and ways that we may be able to find those solutions that could help to, provide better ways through which we could serve young people in marginalized communities. All right, so Eric, I'm not sure if you're hearing us. All right, not sure if he is, but
Eric, are you ready to start?
Yeah, I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Eric Omwanda Nehemiah, the founder of the Madare Foundation, and I'll be making a presentation on the power of youth work, forging a sustainable and peaceful common future. So I think maybe we can proceed to the next slide. Yeah. So my presentation, as I've said, we're also focusing on celebration and promotion of youth work, the diversity of youth work across the globe, its richness. The theme encourages the showcasing and discussing the best approaches from across the Commonwealth that demonstrate the needs of young people, the scope of the methodology and approaches taken, and the impact achieved through youth work. I think we can move to the next slide. So in my presentation, many young people across the Commonwealth states are facing systemic challenges in their quest for better lives. The sad reality is that young people, especially from underdeveloped and developing and small states, do not have access to adequate trainings that enable them to earn a living to sustain themselves. Many a times, the blame has in most instances been directed to the government. For instance, in Kenya, we have a National Youth Training Program dubbed National Youth Service. This entity came under heavy criticism after cases of corruption by senior government officials were reported. This was a very incredible project that economically supported young people, especially from deprived areas such as urban informal settlement. The young people were involved in cleaning of the streets, construction of community structures, among other duties. The rampant crime, violent early marriages and pregnancies, and substance abuse in the slums of Mathare among young people is very worrying. Until now, our continuous contribution in addressing these challenges has had multiple and pragmatic approaches that yielded positive results. We agree that we have issues with the national administration. However, this has not deterred us from achieving our goal as a community organization. It's exactly a decade since we commenced this journey of changing the lives of young people. Mathare Foundation, an organization that I founded in 2013, has been very active in providing innovative solutions in solving pressing issues facing the young people from Mathare slums, which has a population of about 500,000 people who live below the poverty index. The rampant crime, violence, early marriages and pregnancies, and substance abuse in the slums of Mathare, among other.
Eric, are you still with us?
Contribution in addressing. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can continue, Eric.
However, we agree that we have issued. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah, that's a photo of a drunk person in the slums of Mathare. Maybe we can move to the other slide. Yeah, these are some of our beneficiaries who have been through the Madare Foundation. The one who holding the camera, she's called Diana. She's also our finance person or our accountant, and the two others are trainees who have undergone through our trainings. So Diana started being part of the foundation since she was about in grade 4. I think we may proceed to the other slide. This is a community event that we participated. So what we normally do, the lady standing on the front, she's the trainer in our program for the dance classes. And this is an event that I think it was about, should be 2018. So normally when we perform in these events, we normally get um, paid for that, and we support the kids through the education, and also we try to support their families, maybe by buying them some foodstuffs and clothing. I think we can proceed. Yeah, this is a football league that we were organizing called Beyond Football. So it attracted about 52 teams from Madare slums and its environs, and we normally do not sideline others. So we normally have even the Muslim taking part in this program, the refugees being part of the program. And in this league, we were able to award about 4 boys teams and 4 girls teams by providing them with uniform, balls, and medals. I think we can proceed. So as an organization which has been creating impact among young people for a decade, our approach has always been entirely based on needs of the beneficiaries. The traditional way of crafting projects was based on what the project initiators thought was impressive in relation to the community needs. However, this approach was not yielding much as expected. Our approach has been nothing for us without us. This means we work closely with the beneficiaries in the project design. Our incessant efforts in ensuring that young people get quality training that can prepare them to the job market, and has entirely been as a entirely have results of continuously engaging the young people and understanding their needs properly. We may proceed. Our theory of change as an organization in our different projects is recruiting, training, mentorship, and generation of income. How do we achieve this? We have been we have a very well defined recruitment plan, which is not biased to anyone based on their tribe, gender, religion, social status, appearance, or political affiliation. It only contains the clear procedures that include interviews, communication, and admission, among other procedures. We offer quality training to our beneficiary. We have a curriculum that we have developed with the aid of development partners. Our training are entirely conducted by participants who have been part of our trainings and understand the organization culture. This has enabled us to create a sustainable organization which has qualified and reliable tutors. The mentorship program entails connecting the participant to a media house, a football team, or a dance group where they acquire additional skills that prepare them either to join the job market or enable them to earn some income through their skills and talent. I think we can watch this video that we did for African Population and Health Research Center. The video is basically they were doing a project on right to food, and we were able to do video coverage for them and photography, and we generated about $500,000 Kenya shillings through this project. So maybe you can go just to that video clip.
I'm going to try my best.
Would it work if Eric shared his screen?
I'm gonna
think you pull it up in YouTube.
I'm gonna copy the link and try and stick it in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Get your Miller rice, baby. Get your Miller rice.
It's gonna come up. Give it a second.
Couldn't be more proud of someone.
He's the most talented sportsman I've ever seen.
The second sustainable development goal is about ending hunger by 2030, and we see this for it to actually happen. We need to talk about the right to food. It is important that people understand this research evidence. They understand the concept of food security, and so that they can be able to actualize the right to food in their households, in their communities.
When we did the food security project, we used several methodologies. So they went out to collect the data into the field and then came back with the data, and that data we now used it in the meetings for the Household of Love Right to Food project.
We got into the intricate details of what food security means to them and how they've experienced it within their communities, within their houses.
What you are seeing here, this is the role of the government towards food security.
We did a mural at the Rubens Center, and we did it at a very strategic place such that everybody who goes to the center sees the mural.
The human library was the only new methodology when you invite experts into a library setup, but you ask them to speak to the community directly, as opposed to giving them written material on the right to food.
We had food basket challenge, and finally we had the drawing competition for the children.
We had 5 different ethnic groups prepare soup in the traditional way.
Kulingana na vile nimesoma siku ya leo, kulingana na ile vibanda yote tumetembelea, hiyo vibanda chakula iko, lakini bei yake iko bei kali.
Lazima yeye mwenyewe atoke aende atafute ndio apate.
Each and everyone has that right to get food, right to sustain themselves.
Hizo chakula tunafaa kuziweka place poa ndio zisishikwe na germs kama nzi zikitoka choo zinaguzwa. Sasa tunafaa kunawa tukatoka choo ndio tusikwe na ugonjwa ndogo.
Tumesoma kwa hizi hoteli zenye ziko tu huku mtaa, lazima zikuwe na health card. Sasa hoteli ikuwe safi, hadi ukija kula unafurahia.
Kupata chakula kidogo ni makosa, na kupata kingi tena sana tunasema kupata lishe duni na lishe iliyozidi. Hiyo yote ni mbaya.
Mimi naomba hata serikali iangalie wasee zaidi.
Serikali iude policies ambazo
vibanda zitamalizika.
Emphasize on linking good governance to the right to food. I have also gained skills in public engagement through the participating in the activities in the community. This is the new way for APHRC.
Yeah, as you can see in that photo, we always engage the beneficiaries. We meet with them, design projects with them. The lady sitting there, she's one of our trainers, and the other are participants. That is our office space where we normally do our programs. Maybe you can move to the next slide. Yeah, this is the team that comprises the ones who run the day-to-day activities of the organization. Maybe I can introduce the main guys. The ladies standing on the guy standing on with the Marvin is called Joseph Odhiambo. He helps us with the training in photography. The lady next to her, she's called Vivian. She's my direct assistant. We have Tobias Atete, who is the program officer. We have myself, of course, there as the director. We also have Sharon standing just close to me. We have Quinta there. She is one of our trainers. We have Alma, who is she's not standing, but she's on the first lady that you see there down. She's the one who was actually speaking to the ladies. She helps also in photography training. We have Laureen there, and also we have Laureen. She's the one who is in charge of the dance program. We have Diana, who is also there. She's the accountant, and also we have Mr. Paul, who helps us in running our leagues in Mathare. So maybe you can move to the next slide. Yeah, this is a team that we normally encourage people from diverse communities. As you can see, this is a Muslim team, purely Muslim team that they just live in the neighborhood. There is a neighborhood called Isli, so it's just across the road from Mathare. So we normally encourage them to come and participate in our league. Next slide. Yeah, this is as we said, we normally when we had COVID-19. So there is a song that our participant produced, and as you can see, this is one of our beneficiaries with a producer in a music studio where they went to produce that song on COVID-19. Maybe you can go to the next slide. So our findings. Honesty is the best policy. The role of our organization in the celebration of and promotion of youth work is very a good example of what youth-led organization can achieve for the benefit of the community. It is a collective responsibility for different stakeholders to offer answers to matters youth training and economic empowerment. Depending on the government only can lead to negative impact in the social and economic sector of our nation. The impact that we have been able to create is a clear indicator that youth work can support national, regional, and international agenda when given the needed support. Young people are at the point where they do not want tailor-made solution for them, but to be involved in the different stages of arriving at, commencing of, and implementation of solution. This kind of approach has led to improved impact since the young people have ownership of the proposed solution. Quality and more structured trainings in different disciplines in the arts and sport initiative leads to a more.
All right. So what we're doing in the interim, we just it's just amazing the work that he's doing with the foundation. You know, they're using sports as a means to solve some of the problems, you know, by having community sporting activities such as football competitions. They're using art as a means as well, you know, by engaging persons through dance, you know, and it just shows the creativity that we can use as youth workers to also engage young people from marginalized communities. It's really commendable to see how much they're doing. I'd just like us to just give them a round of applause, even though we don't need to.
I can just add a little context. Sorry, it's horrible that he's been cut off.
Yes.
But it's also amazing that we got through. Eric's working in a slum where there's 500,000 people. No water, no electricity. People got no Wi-Fi. It's come back. His phone to connect.
Yes, absolutely.
Technology is amazing, although it's still difficult. Is there much of the presentation there?
I can double check.
Yeah, could you just slide through it to see if that's we have to speak.
Quite a bit, a lot of pictures.
Look at the rest of the photos just in case he comes back.
Let me just slide because you also have to move along. Could you just share the photos?
Yes.
If there's anything you didn't get to say now, probably in the end we'll ask you to get back to that. And it's clear that it's both genders or, you know, different genders are included in the activities that they're doing with their sporting activities, you know.
Just going to go to the next photos. There are a couple more.
All right. So that's pretty much all for Eric's presentation. Given that he's not here, we're going to ask you to jot down those questions so that if we get him at the ending of Gavin's presentation, we could always pose those questions to him. Again, we can see the amazing work that he's doing, and I hope there is some form of inspiration for you to look at how to utilize, you know, the arts, the sports, or whatever may be different means to engage young people from marginalized community. I'll just state that one thing that we have realized is that sports is a very powerful tool that a lot of governments and institutions have utilized as a means of bringing young people together and also inspiring and empowering them. I can tell you for sure, where I'm from in my local community, I've seen sports unite gangs. I've seen sports unite young people that we never thought would have come together through competition. So I'm just saying, you know, it's amazing to see that and how it's being used across the world. Yeah. All right. At this time, we're going to now give the floor to Gavin to do his presentation. Gavin, all yours.
Hello.
Move this out.
No, that's good. All right, so here's what happened. I kind of made some, if you see any spelling errors in this presentation, it's not my fault. It's mine. But, you know, so I made some errors with this one. So I had done another one and sent it, but it's past the time. So if you see me skip on this and ask her to skip, that's the reason. So I start with what I usually do with young people by asking them to participate in the presentation. Is that okay? Okay, so. Hey, not bad. Said I hear the words of the I am and say, ah, bid on your tune, calm down, calm down. Ah, bid on your tune, calm down. Great. So greetings. That's my second side actually. So the words are see. Cool. Yeah. That's a picture of. Let me tell you a story about these pictures. So I work in rural youth work, and I work with cultural heritage sites. And by nature, someone who started in youth work, Lane was one of my first teachers in youth work. And beyond that, he is one of our trainers from a long time. So when we started youth work, Lane was like, go learn. His instructions were, do you want to find out something? Go learn. How many young people are in? Go learn. So we learned. But even more than that, he taught us how to engage with people and things. So I'm good with that side. But along this now, I'm presenting on how cultural heritage sites and museums, community museums, are working with young people and are using their heritage as a way to reach people. So I'm showing how we can use things from the past to move through the future. So this little beat that we just played, for context, Babylon or anything like that, it's the colonial system, the system that has been a part of the oppressive frame for a long while. So it's used as this way to discuss things that are against the community. I think next slide. And next slide. Aha. So my context. There are two strands to youth work history in Jamaica and in most places. There's the formal, which we'd speak about in terms of like Commonwealth youth organizations and the big six and such. There's that formal stream, but there's also an informal and more community-centric youth work that post-slavery, these communities started looking and say, okay, we need to find ways to empower and raise our young people that goes beyond what was being offered as a part of the education system and the colonial education grant. So 1845 onwards. And these things started working through schools, through SAT programs, through football, through cricket, other things like that. And by the 1920s, in churches, in other spaces, there was this type of movement that was happening through the space. And now these two strands over time have been working side by side and in some places just intertwined. But over time, there's still some things that stand up by themselves. Some things the community do more than others. So there are some communities that, so these state-led organizations now, we have in Jamaica a Ministry of Youth. When I started doing youth work, it was called the National Center for Youth Development. And this framework, and I'm sure if we look at how all of our countries, youth has never had a ministry by itself in most of our countries. It has been tagged to sports, culture there, education there. Sometimes the youth people are like, where am I? But that's what has been happening across the spaces. But beyond that, the other thing that has been happening with this is that these community heritage sites have been working. Regardless of where they are, these community heritage sites are saying, okay, we have a thing to do in our local community. So whether there's a youth work organization or whether there's not, these community heritage sites, and in my spaces, these community heritage sites are usually headed by a community and a committee of people who are, my mother, my tanty. If you are from any space, you know what a tanty is? Who knows what a tanty is? That's your auntie, but it's not your real auntie though. Every community have a tanty, uncle, or pa. We have those. And they run things. They say, boy, go pick up your book. And guess what you do? Exactly. 3 times 2. So they do that and they say, oh, you like football? Okay, learn. But make sure you pick up your book. So these organizations also have another thing that they do. Their primary role or their primary space was also as griots, as keeper of the heritage, as this space that build partnerships to share this type of messaging. Next slide now. So in 2021, we started doing some research with 3 organizations to see how these community heritage sites work. What are their strategies and how it is that they are using partnerships and things to work. So that kind of small-headed person in the purple, that's me. And we're looking at youth crime and some other things like that. And we engage stakeholders, young people, community organizations, but we did this in an inverted way. We said we're deliberately going to those persons who would not usually be a part of the connections, the rural youth, the dispersed youth, the indigenous communities, that type of space. So you went that way out and worked our way inwards. And it was done deliberately because we are saying that if we want to hear the stories that is happening, you actually go to the people who actually know it. Work your way forward inwards, and then when you reach the end, you'll speak to those persons who are usually spoken to. So it's that way of ensuring that there is a step up. We call it an engaged research approach. So then now we realize that there is this type of Freer model, Paulo Freire and adult education model that is happening with this. And this adult, now I learned youth work and I learned community work through this aspect of PAR, participatory action research. So if you know that, you also know that their point of view is that we need to build the critical consciousness of young people and build the critical consciousness of the community, right? Oh, am I going too fast? We're okay so far? Mud, water, where are we? Halfway between, are we good? Are we okay?
Yeah.
Good. I just want to know, because when I'm speaking, I may get a little bit speak faster or twist. So I just want to ensure that I'm okay. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So we were doing this, and then now we started presenting the findings from these three communities. And these three communities are, there is a community that's a peri-urban community. It's near an urban community, but it's in a swamp. It's a place called Gregor Park, and it's run by a youth worker called Stepper. No first name, no last name, no other name, but Stepper. And you know, a Stepper is somebody who is, so Stepper knows every community that you can think of. Stepper has done work in prisons, with gangs, with whatever it is, but his work uses cultural heritage as his basis. And he forms unique partnerships with different places, different communities, and he works with that. So that is one area that he works in. Then we did another work with a group in Woodside. Woodside is a academic-led project that is around that looks at our post-slavery heritage, African heritage. And he also and this stretches also. So she did a research that could name from 1832, round about then, at the emancipation of slavery, transatlantic slavery. She could name, and the community did work to name every person who was on the plantation then. But not only that, we could trace your family heritage through the years up to 2017. You could trace here. So you could look on there. I'm Gavin Myers. You could look on there and say, oh, that's Gavin. And then you realize that your name, your first name is actually because your great-great-grandfather is Gavin. And there's Myers, and you're like, oh, weird. So there's this opportunity to learn this. And this was used as a way to engage the young people, but also to build them even when they left the community. So it was an internal heritage project, focused on the internal, but also building them for expansion. So they worked with heritage and they did education. And the third was in a maroon community. And the Afro-Indigenous, these maroon communities are in the rural hinterlands. So they are, think of the Blue Mountain and think of a valley in the Blue Mountain, like a valley like this, they're in the bottom of that valley. So they're cut off in terms of geography, shared geography, and they are also, maybe 20 or so miles from the nearest town, rural. And they have a form of heritage tourism and a form of heritage preservation that is centered around sharing things from the past, but showing how important they are in the present. So we were showing now how they did this. And in 2021, I know we don't want to talk about the pandemic and how bad it was, but 2021, the pandemic was hitting and we were trying to do this work during this period, and they pivoted. So these youth work spaces moved from being youth work centered outwards towards internal youth work, doing things around how it is that they were serving their community. So they took the same Ferrarian model and they started doing internal work. So they became a youth work center. They became a education center. They started teaching things like sewing, food stuff development, how to learn and eat off the land, how to do new stuff, craft items and things to young people. But they not only did that, They brought in the older people. They brought in the tantes, the persons who are living at home. They turned the young people into persons to deliver food to these young people, to these elders. They had these young people walking through the community, knowing, Kevin, you live on that side. How many old persons are on that side? What do they need? So they did that. And it was a model that, yes. Oh, I should tell you about my research model. I'll come back to this. So
The next one or one?
next one. I'll tell them about the themes emerging. So this is where I am now. So we did this type of research and we started realizing that they were doing some things that were creative. There are 4 pillars we would say to their work. There is partnership, there is place, identity, and practice, as in practical. So they realized that their work as a community, a cultural heritage site, had to be based on these 4 pillars. One, it had to be based in the place that they were. So if you're doing cultural heritage based youth work, it has to be based amongst the people that you're working with and respond to the needs that they have. It also has to respond to their own heritage and their own lived experiences. It also has to deal with the identity that these persons have. So we have different people who came. The indigenous Tainos were exterminated and Africans brought in, but also Africans, there were Indians who were brought in and other people came. So this type of identity and the impact upon the people who are there and the creation of a new Caribbean or Jamaican identity is something that was discussed and dealt with through this work. And all the participants and all the persons who were there were trained and used this as a space. It had to be practical. The Caribbean and most of our countries, most of our small island developing states is an open economy and an open society. People move in, move out. One of the things that they all realized was that these persons who were in the community now were leaving for other places. So they were using the community heritage sites as a place to ground them, to make them know their identity. Part of this mountain, part of this sea. You're from somewhere. You shall not be blown away. When somebody tells you to go back to your home, you smile and say, yes, I have a home. So this type of grounding was something that was important, that you saw this in the work that they did. And they were not only doing it with persons who were living there, they were doing this with persons who were in the diaspora. So persons who during this time had to leave wherever they were. They came back to their home communities and were being supported there. But they were also doing this in partnership. So they were having workshops and things online with other universities abroad, with different diaspora groups abroad, and different community groups. So they were building partnerships, and they were doing this all creatively. So there was this community of practice and a community of place that was being built up around them that we find very, very important, because cultural heritage sites, museums, are now a center for youth work, for informal youth work in these communities. It is an amazing thing. And I know if we start looking at how our own communities are, wherever we are, we can find places that can be either led to do this or with just a little tweak, we'll do this without any problems. Let's move on. Yeah. So some of the things that we realize that are emerging now is, and these are things that as a researcher you find, one, partnerships are key for the work that they're doing. Funding, finding creative ways to fund or develop the resources that were needed. They were using different things. There were some aspects of the social solidarity economy. There were some aspects of social enterprise, and there was also aspects of, let's call it now, grassroots philanthropy that were happening. So they were able to connect through Remember, Give Back, and it's small things. They were able to connect through these diaspora networks to persons, and they were also able to connect through artists and other persons who were in the creative industry for them to give to these things. The heritage sites themselves serve as an important role, had different roles in the community. First, they were a third space. You know, We know what a third space is, right? Well, cool. Yeah, so they serve as a third space. They also serve as a collaboration partner.
You may have to explain third space.
Oh. So a third space, we said that you have 1, 2, 3 possibly spaces, and this one we spoke out 5. So there's a family and home space, there's a work space, but there is also a third space, which is a shared community space that we all in some way connect with. Yes. So it's the bus stop, it's the church, it's the mosque, it's the community center. It's that type of space that we relate to in some way. It's that space that after you leave home and your family, you go to in some way. For me, it's where I find food. It's true. Think about it. I look for food, and where most young people also look for food, look for where you can play football or cricket or dodgeball or whatever it is. So the cultural heritage sites play that third space role, but they also act as a mobilizer for resources. So these third spaces are able to say, okay, you can't give every family money. No, it's okay. Give me the money and I will share it up. And if you know any tanty who cooks a big pot, they share 2 pounds of lentil and everybody gets food. I don't know how they do it, but the food is shared and everybody is satisfied. So there's that. They serve this role as a resource mobilizer, but they also serve as a reference point in the community. So in each one of these communities, you found that when people say that they were going around to the center, you know specifically where they were going. Or they said that, and just think in your space now, and this is where I ask you a good question now. If I say in your community, you're going to the field, where would you say you're going? Do you know in your mind have a space that you exactly know you're going to? Do you? Or you say you're going to the mosque? Is there a specific mosque that is your mosque? Yeah?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. When I do youth work, when we ask questions, we usually pause like, yeah, I'm waiting on you. Yeah. So that type of thing is very important for this type of work. Next thing now. So back to us singing now. I like music. And Jimmy Cliff is one of for me, the biggest songwriters that emerged from Jamaica. Some people say Bob Marley, some people say Peter Tosh. You know, some people say Jimmy Cliff, but Jimmy Cliff has a song that says, treat the youths right instead of putting up a fight. Treat the youths right or you'll be playing with dynamite. So my, that little thank you ending is saying that my findings have shown that these community organizations, these cultural heritage sites, believe in this. Treat the youths right, or you'll be playing with dynamite. And they said, all the boys and girls of today is a man and woman of tomorrow. So what we should do is take heed to the words that they say, or our days will be filled with sorrows. So that's me. Thank you very much for listening to me. And I'm sorry to sing. Next time. No, not sing this one. Yeah. Yeah, this is me. Thank you. Finish? Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Gavin. Could you just give another round of applause? All right. So we had 2 very interesting presentations today. We had one that was showing from the angle of using sports and culture as a means of engaging young people in areas that governments are, oftentimes neglecting to do some amount of work. But interestingly, we also have the minister here with us from Barbados, who is also the Minister of Sports, Youth and Community Empowerment, which we'll also ask him to, to chime in and to give any possible feedback or, perspective that you could also give in the conversation about how you're using sports to engage young people and in your country. But we also just to go back to Gavin. Gavin just gave us a very interesting presentation about how to use cultural heritage as a means of a resource/developmental space for young people. And I think it's a very interesting perspective because oftentimes, I'm reminded of a quote by Marcus Garvey, which to an extent I'm summarizing, which says, young people who do not know their past is bound to fail or something to that extent.
If you have no knowledge of your history, like a tree without roots.
Yes, if you have no knowledge of your history, you're like a tree without roots. And I thought that was just such an interesting, point of view to use heritage to do so. So we're going to open the space for the questions. I just wanted to summarize what we just discussed from both presentations, and how can some of you are also using that in your own spaces to also create change. All right, so we have our two panelists. Eric back with us. All right, so hopefully Eric is online and ready to take some of those questions. Gavin is also here for your questions, and the minister, again, I ask you to chime in. So we have one question here.
Thank you very much.
Before you ask the question, could you just state your name and where you're from?
I'm Sabiha Shaheen, and I'm from Pakistan. Basically, I'm working with a youth organization, namely Breakout. So I found your presentation very interesting, and I just want to know 2-3 things. For example, as this session is about marginalized youth. So my first question is how you define marginalized youth and how many categories you think marginalized youth have, one thing. Secondly, as you mentioned in your presentation that you are working with the rural youth. So my question is, so what do you see a difference between rural youth when you're working with them and urban youth and literate youth? And third thing, how you involve rural young girls in your work. There is I think there is there is a big challenge when you work with youth, and obviously you have to involve young girls as well. And in rural setups, I think as in back home, it's a big challenge. I have a lot of questions, but my last question.
Yes, I love the questions.
I have a lot of questions. But my last question, you mentioned in your presentation 2-3 times Muslim growth. So I want to know there is a religious diversity in that area, and how you tackle that diversity, religious diversity, I must say, religious minorities and religious diversity when you work with them. So I think I should stop now, but I have more questions.
All right, no, go ahead.
Your questions.
All right, so just for us to be able to follow, could you just answer those and then we'll take
Okay, so let me answer. I'll start. So there was religious diversity question. There was a question about gender and gender participation. There's a question about rural youth, and there was a question about what is the definition for marginalized youth, right? So 2 things. Pakistan is way bigger than my little dot. So Jamaica is 3 million, and we have a square mile of 4,000 square miles. Very small. But beyond that, we use, so Everton is from Kingston, and we use the city, they're urban-based youth workers, and they're also rural-based youth worker. I'm a rural-based youth worker. And we do, so there's, in terms of definition, there's urban, there is other town, and then there's rural, but there's also deep rural and dispersed. So deep rural and dispersed, I'll say, let's say they live 5 miles from the nearest small town or 2 miles from the nearest small town. So let's say they live in communities that have under 30, between 30 to 300 people in terms of population. Let's call those the dispersed or deep rural. Then there is the normal rural, which is, between 500 to 3,000 in terms of population. And then there's, the other town, which is 3,000 to, let's say, 10 to 15,000. Then there's the bigger towns, which would go up to Kingston, which has somewhere around about 1 point something million. So there's different type of definitions for what to consider dispersed. But then no, let us throw in also geography, because there are some persons who live in these mountainous regions that the houses are on a ridge. So I live in Belfield, and even though Belfield, they say is a large community by geography, in terms of population, the houses are very far apart because of the geography. So there's that dispersal, and that impacts upon how these youth have access to education, have access to information. Even though in today's day, during the pandemic, we realized that a lot of dead spots, there are areas that no matter how we try, they're unable to get proper GSM signal, they're unable to get other services just there. So there's that challenge. And it had a like the moment when the Ministry of Education says, oh, we have put out good Wi-Fi services, and everybody in the rural areas like, why who? We don't have that. So there's that problem. And so that's another thing. Marginalized and marginalized communities. So there's the rural, but then there are those persons who are other forms of at risk. There's those who are in, let's call them now, different communities. There are those who have challenges, special needs challenges and such. So those marginalized communities are also one of the areas that you have to work with. And you have to either create native programs for deaf sign language, created native programs for persons who are have disabilities and so. So there is that type of space that rural youth work has to find, or marginalized youth work has to find different ways to engage those persons. The other set that we talk about now, rural girls. So rural girls make a particular challenge in terms of engaging, and I am male. If my beard never showed up, I am not a rural girl. So working with rural girls sometimes creates challenges for me. But what we do sometimes, or what we do a lot of times, is ensure that these programs are open to them, and also we deliberately go out of our way to reach them. So it's not good enough to say it's open. We have to make the programs be positive for them, so you engage them. In Jamaica, in terms of religion now, there is a Muslim population. There are, I would say, 3 waves of Muslim groups. There are an older Muslim community that came out post-slavery. There is another Muslim community that came with the Indian arrival. So what was called India is a mix of India and Pakistan. So people came from across there who are Muslim too. And then there's a third, which is now let's call it the newer Muslim communities that are coming in. So they're there. And in most of our communities, you'll find a small enough population of that. So in doing youth work with them, you get to understand their own spaces. You work with the imams and develop programs. The other thing about it is, I don't want to say that we're integrated, but we have an integrative approach, and our government and state in some way tries to support them. Yeah. But they have Muslims, there's Rastafari, there are some Hindus and other things that are there in terms of youth work. So we work with them. I think my final one that I left out, oh, I've answered them? Thank you.
If you allow.
Yeah, so we just want to give other persons a chance to chime in, and then we just come back to it.
Sure.
Are there any other questions in the room?
Just wanted to point out some of the similarities between what you're talking about and what Eric's talking about.
Yes, yeah.
The core of this stuff is self-identity and self-worth, and
yes,
as I said, the history and the future. I'm wondering whether you and Eric could almost answer your question.
Yes.
It's almost an identical scenario.
Yeah, man. So we're going to pose it to Eric as well, but I just wanted to know if there are any other questions that may be in the room. All right, before you ask the question, Eric, are you with us?
I think he's frozen.
All right.
Frozen.
All right, so we are going to, Minister, I'd ask you to also chime in on that question, possibly from where you sit as well, but I'm just going to ask her question first, and then we come back.
Hi, yeah, so I am Anita from the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health.
Yeah.
As I'm really interested in working with rural communities. Obviously, we all know like the lack of food, lack of clean water, lack of access to medicine has a huge impact on these people. So I just wanted to know about the partnerships around health services, or what support you guys have got to address health inequalities.
So health inequalities, Jamaica is, we're upper middle development minister, I think somewhere around about, we're upper middle income country. So we should say, and I'll say this, we have very good health indicators, but with anywhere it's patchy. So we have issues related to gastroenterological diseases. We have issues in terms of period poverty and some issues like that. And anybody who has come from a rural area has safety issues and safety challenges. So there is incidents of cuts, bruises. I'm from a rural background. I'll tell you, if it bleeds and it runs clear, you're okay. It's when it's bent and not straightened out back, you don't go. But to answer that way, during the pandemic and even before, the healthcare services were overburdened. So what some of these organizations do is to partner with the nearest health center, but also with private doctors to offer support. I know in terms of areas related to sexual and reproductive health, we are, as youth workers, we were trained in this area. There is enormous need to extend, but are we the worst off? No, but I know for certain that one of the challenges that young people in these areas face is just literal access and the cost of care. So if you have to travel 20 kilometers or more to get to a proper health hospital, and during this time you have to take maybe two or three different forms of transport, modes of transport, it has problems. Taking something from my own personal experience, I was in a deep rural community and I broke a leg, and they transported me in the bed of a pickup truck. I counted every pothole. So there's that type of thing in terms of access, and there is that type of need for training for youth workers and community heritage sites in this type of first response. And it's something that we are trying to do, but there's always need for support.
All right. Thank you for that, David. Eric, are you back with us? All right. In the interim, just for the persons online, just remind you that you can go to slido.com, which is SLIDO.com, and you can type in the numbers 8592492, and it's room 103 that we're in, and you could ask all your questions there. All right, just to repeat, slido.com, which is SLIDO.com, and the numbers to type in are 8592492, and it's room 103. All right, so we're looking out for any questions from online so that we could also engage those persons, joining us virtually. All right, if there are no other questions, all right, so we have 3 questions. I'm going to take the one at the extreme back, and then I'm going to in the middle right here, and then I'm going to come back right here and come back. And the minister, we're going to ask you if you could chime in on the first questions, marginalized communities, and also engaging persons, young girls as well, in terms of from rural communities. All right, so
it's more of a comment than a question.
Before you ask again, just remind you, state your name and where you're from.
Sorry, I'm Sarah Robinson Galloway.
Yes.
East Scotland, and we're that related to youth work. And we're talking about your rural youth work in Scotland.
Yes.
We've got a much bigger empty space than say.
Yes.
We've got the Central Belt, which is Glasgow and Edinburgh, which is very populated, and then further north you go, the more dispersed.
Yes.
And then we've also got the Highlands Islands, which very service isn't great, shall we say right now. And there's been lots of issues with that, and connectivity, young people having issues connecting Wi-Fi, very similar. Actually, it struck me the similarity that you were talking about in Jamaica. And there's lots of really good work happening with the councils and stuff there, but there's always that connectivity and that communication that is causing issues. So I'd love to talk more about that at some point. The other comment there was about sport. I don't know how much anybody here knows about football in Scotland. It can be very toxic and very dangerous. But there's some amazing work going on in communities with young people using football in a very similar way to connect those communities. On a very basic level, from a Protestant Catholic communities actually coming together through schools, using football, using the sports, basketball, golf, to actually bring young people together and talk about it. And it's great to see that is international as an approach.
Yeah.
So it's just.
All right. So she wants to connect with you after, so you could have a discussion around that.
Really love that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And anybody else would like to connect as well to possibly find more on that, Want to take the second question?
Okay. I'd just like to appreciate both community work speaking by Kevin and Eric. It shows how really the needs of the youth and the space have been taken into consideration and care to really empower and optimize their well-being. In Seychelles, there's a lot of cultural sites as well, but it's the staff of the cultural department who does the work, and it's mostly during the holidays. So again, I would like to connect with you to learn about how these sites can be used for youth development, not just as a place where parents dump kids for they have nowhere to go during the school holidays. So just to expand the connection. I would like to ask though, in your research, both Eric, if you can answer, and Gabby, how do you go about to empower, to train, if you've done so, train the elders, the adults at these cultural sites to make sure that they're doing the right stuff, they're doing it well, and you get the results that you wanted.
Okay, great.
All right, so we're going to allow you to respond. Eric, are you hearing us? I think you're muted. You may have to unmute first.
Yeah, I'm hearing the conversation and the questions.
Okay, you heard the question I was asked?
Yeah, so it's training for the youth work staff, youth work training for the staff of the heritage sites or other sites, Eric.
Pardon?
The question was around training for the youth workers or for the workers in the different in our partner organizations. Do you provide training for them, or how do we provide training for them?
Is that the question? Just to
the processes. How do you do?
Okay.
System,
the programs, the procedures that you utilize to train staff and persons who engage in your program.
Yeah, so basically what we do as an organization, we have partners that we work with, for example, in terms of capacity building, like the main team normally, maybe you get like myself and two others, we will go for a training on, could be monitoring evaluation, could be project cycle management, and so on and so forth. And that happens through our development partners. So they get a consultant who gives training to different like organizations, including ourselves. Like in 2022, last year, around June to late June to early July, we had a three-day training at an hotel, and basically it was supported by the French Embassy in Nairobi, who are partners, and we were being trained on monitoring evaluation because we did a project for them called Breaking Gender Barriers that was focusing on developing of female leadership, development of female role models, and development of and also inclusion of women through sports. So we had like a league that was running mainly for girls between 11 years to 35 years. So we had under 13, we had under 16 and over 16 categories. And we also had trainings on gender balance issues, training on human rights. We also had some training on how the girls and women can be football coaches. We also had training on first aid and refereeing on football. Our program has been very successful because we have like people who have also played for the Kenya football national team, both for the male and also for the female. Like in our management team, we have Sharon and Vivian, who happen to be twins, who have played for the national team, for the women team called Harambee Starlets, the Kenyan team. And they've been able to represent the country even in international tournaments like in Spain and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what Eric kind of said in summary is that they utilize private partners different entities to provide training for them based on their areas of expertise. So they also have those persons provide training for them, right? We're going to, would you like to also respond to that question quickly?
Well, two ways. One, so I'm a participatory action research. So I'm a trained researcher. But beyond that, most of these organizations have partnerships with universities, the University of West Indies, in terms of youth work training. And we're blessed that most of these organizations also have support internally for training. The other thing that we also realize is that there's, we call them non-formal training. So during my training, during my research, we did training on for the workers on how to engage and such. There is another thing that we are trying to develop, and this is we did this research through the University of West Indies. Another thing that we're trying to develop there was to do some of the training in terms of cultural heritage youth work. So there's I won't call it a module, but it's something that we're trying to develop in terms of this, how to reach and how to do this. So
yeah,
it's something that we're doing.
All right. So you can look at possible universities as possible means of support and other entities. All right. So we have about 10 minutes remaining. I'd want us to make the most of the time that we have and not put overtime as well. Minister, I'm going to ask you to chime in on the previous question about marginalized communities and also young women and how you're using sports as a means of engaging them, or means of also building the communities in that regard. And I'm also going to take your question, and there's one question online. Are there anyone else that will have a question that we could also add to that list before we close up for questions? Going once, going twice. Look. All right, so sold. All right, so we all have one question online, and so we take those two questions. Minister, you could respond before we remove your question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to ask the minister to respond, and then we take your question. All right.
All right. My response would be more of in form of comments, because I too deal with marginalized youth. But arts and sports is used as an intervention strategy.
Yes.
So there must be a destination that you're going to. Now, Eric is using art and sports, but my suggestion would be that the arts that is happening in his area, dance, what he can do is to train the girls to a level and then have a performance that will raise funds to continue the program. So you don't just train and dance, you just continue. But at the end of it, you can have some kind of concert where you charge the community and you provide an opportunity to earn some money. Similarly, it can't, in my view, it can't be a situation where you just do arts and sports, but there must be a situation where you infuse other things within the captive group. So like I said, use the intervention. So if you have a whole group of girls that are dancing, but then you need to inject some vocational training. So if you can provide some vocational training while you have them dancing, then it's an opportunity to empower them. He mentioned food security, and we're talking in the rural areas. Maybe it is possible for some of the guys who are older in football to be involved in farming, because this is another opportunity for them to make money. So you capture those marginalized youth within the arts and the sports, but you offer more. So you bring someone in to do things like money management, where you kind of provide them with information that can benefit them in the long run. So it is just not football, but you're bringing somebody in to deal with it. Now, partners were mentioned. So what you can do in order to prolong the program as well is to do training of trainers program, where you have an opportunity, you identify persons, so maybe some youth workers to come and train as trainers. So you have continuity. So in the case that your particular coach, for example, is missing on a particular day, you have redundancy. So you have somebody else that can come and deal with the program. So these are some of the things that I too am doing with my youth, because we have rural areas in Barbados as well. And it is one of the ways, like I said, that you need to capture them. If it is sports, if it is arts, that is the first step. But what do you do from there?
Yeah.
You need to go on by providing other things. Infuse those two programs with different areas that can grow and empower youngsters at every skill. Right now, in my constituency, Ross University is going because I believe that you asked about healthcare. So Ross University, who's now in Barbados, is going to the community to provide services. So what you can do is you work in partnership. So you have somebody who can represent at university level or one of the hospitals to ask some of the persons who are involved in medicine to come to the community as a give back. And this is done gratis. So for the footballers, you can do first aid. So you have somebody in the club or in the group who will know how to treat minor injuries. So it is not just that you're doing football or it's not just you're doing dance, but there are other things, there are other destinations that you're looking to take the young people to.
Yes, I appreciate it. And I think one of the major things I would take away from what the minister just said was how to infuse other means of training, whatever sports or intervention programs that you're utilizing for young people, so that there are other things that are being gained, as you mentioned, first aid and these different means. So I really appreciate that contribution, Minister. We're going to take the last two questions.
Yes, basically, my question is addressed by the minister. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And I would like to comment on the two presentations. They were really very good, very inspiring, and very focused. So thank you very much. My question was about the use of arts and performing arts, basically, for how they can be used.
Yes.
So that
was addressed. Okay. All right. So there's one last question that is here online that I'm going to pose to both panelists. How do you address the idea that young people don't see themselves as marginalized other than economically? And that was a question that was posed from Karine from Bermuda. So we're going to post that to both you, Eric, and Gavin here. Not sure if you're hearing us, Eric.
I'm hearing you.
Awesome. All right. So would you like to lead us off?
Can you just repeat the question, please?
Yes, no problem, Eric. So the question is, how do you address the idea that young people don't see themselves as marginalized other than economically? All right, so we have 5 minutes. I'm going to give you a chance to respond to that question, and Gavin, and then we're going to close off.
Yeah. So how do we? So normally we try our level best to empower them through the skills, like the trainings that we offer. And of course, they come from very challenging background. So by giving them an opportunity to be part of the training, it assists them not to engage in the vices that are in the community, like drug and substance abuse, early marriages and pregnancies, and so on and so forth. How do we empower them economically? As we said, like in the video that we showed, through getting like jobs in photography and video production. So they are the ones who do the work. And of course, there are some funds that goes to the organization. And also there are some funds that are given to them to support themselves and their families. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Eric. I think this is such an interesting question. Because the young person is saying, I don't see myself as marginalized. And it asks me to ask a question. Is technology playing a role that is creating a global community where we feel as though we're not necessarily marginalized in some ways? Again, I would say we're marginalized in some other way, but I'm just saying the person feel as though they're constantly in communication, up to date to everything's happening, but they feel like the economic empowerment is missing. And that is what they really need.
Yeah,
so I'll go to you now, Gavin.
I think there are certain basic indicators that I will use. If you're from a certain area, you have less access to some things than others.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking about your own personal circumstance. I'm saying based on certain indicators that we have. For example, your ability to access some things, your ease of food, your food security, your education security. There are certain things that make you less able to than others. Yes. I am very good with that. How you feel personally about yourself, it's important that we tell young people that, yes, you feel good about yourself is great. We also say we want you to understand that not only do you have self-identity, but there are certain inalienable truths. There are certain things that we have to build up. There are certain things that we have to make better. And let us work together to build those. So I, myself and young people, they say, okay, I'm not marginalized. I'm like, good, very good. So now let us work together to get everybody to be at that level.
Yes.
And we also need to remember that youth work is not just for those persons who are outside of the center, you know.
Yes.
Youth work is for those people who are in the center. Remember that they also need, for example, mental health support or social support. A lot of persons find out that when they were in-house sheltered, whatever it is, and then they now had to use youth work to start engage with how to learn to cook, how to engage with people, how to take bus, how to find their way around, how to navigate. It's social services.
Yes.
And youth workers have to provide these type of services for all.
Yeah. So you're saying,
Sorry, just a final comment on that, because I mentioned earlier about the vocational training, but the vocational training is looking also at entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because government, it's impossible for government to find employment for all of them.
Yes.
But then if you push self-employment as a viable option, so basketball team, you can have a barbering course, and then some of the guys can get involved in that. So, you know, self-employment, entrepreneurship is one of the things that we need to be pushing that area.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
If I follow on that, with the three organizations that I am speaking, they're rural areas. So so teaching them agricultural best practices and supported agro entrepreneurship in terms of agro processes, etc. is important. It's part of a course.
Yes.
It's something that we need to remind people. Feed yourselves and sell the rest.
Yeah. All right. So Eric, thank you very much, for your contribution to this conversation that we're having here today. And I also just want again to commend you, Eric, on the work that you're doing in your country. And I'm sure as you expand and continue to do your work across the region, we just want to say that we really appreciate the work, because oftentimes youth workers go unrecognized and unappreciated for the foundation work that they do for the young people in the community. So we just want to really let you know that we appreciate you and just continue to do the good work. Gavin, just the same, we want to say thank you for your work. And I've known Gavin for a while, being in the youth space, and he has always been one of those youth workers who you could go to, who in the communities, the young people love him. And, I would say this to a little extent, which is controversial. Sometimes we celebrate the persons who are, in other words, probably famous for probably breaking a record in sports. And I'm not disregarding those persons at all, because they do play a very crucial role in our society. But sometimes we don't look at the persons who are preventing that next young person from leading a direction that would probably end up destroying an entire society, or doing something that would have entirely destroyed the next generation of young people, because it's not appreciated. But I just want to let you know as well, Gavin, that we appreciate you just the same, and thank you for your work. We're going to I'll just summarize quickly what was said here today. We spoke about sports and how that can be used as a means of resolving or challenging some of the issues that we have in our communities. We spoke about also how we could use culture as a means of also dealing with some of those challenges as well. We looked at the use of dance, and the minister mentioned we could also try to use dance and those things, yes. But let us also infuse it with some form of education in the process. We train them about first aid or other means as well. So, I thought that was very interesting. So if you're doing any projects or programs in your community that may be cultural or sports, it might be interesting for you to invite someone to just do a 20 minutes presentation in the middle of that session or in the middle of that sporting activity that might educate them on something that might change their life in that process. So I thought that was a good recommendation that we could utilize as we practice as youth workers. Right. We also spoke about, from Gavin's perspective, the importance of using heritage or cultural sites as a means of engaging young people, how we could be used as a resource center or as possible developmental space. And I also mentioned the quote by Marcus Garvey. Or could you just repeat the?
For a nation without knowledge of its history is like a tree without roots.
For a nation without a knowledge of its history is like tree without roots. It's very important that we help our young people to understand where they're coming from, who they are, so that they can appreciate themselves. When they go into these different spaces, they don't feel left out or, like they don't belong, because they understand where they're coming from. They appreciate their ancestors and the history that they have, where they're coming from. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming out today. It was such a lovely presentation and discussion. I hope you had something that you could have taken away from today. And we look forward to see you guys in the other sessions. All right, thank you.